let us take a short stroll through the park of the meaning of life. Daniel, what is a meaningful life?
I think the semantics end up mattering, because a lot of people will take the word meaning and the word purpose almost interchangeably, and they'll think kind of, what is the meaning of my life? What is the meaning of human life? What is the meaning of life? What's the meaning of the universe? And what is the meaning of existence rather than non-existence? So there's a lot of kind of existential considerations there. And I think there's some cognitive mistakes that are very easy, like taking the idea of purpose,
Which is like a goal?
which is a utilitarian concept. The purpose of one thing is defined in relationship to other things that have assumed value. And to say, what is the purpose of everything? Well, purpose is too small of a question. It's fundamentally a relative question within everything. What is the purpose of one thing relative to another? What is the purpose of everything? And there's nothing outside of it with which to say it. You actually just got to the limits of the utility of the concept of purpose. It doesn't mean it's purposeless in the sense of something inside of it being purposeless. It means the concept is too small, which is why you end up getting to, like in Taoism, talking about the nature of it. Rather, there's a fundamental what, where the why can't go deeper. It is the nature of it. But I'm going to try to speak to a much simpler part, which is when people think about what is a meaningful human life, and kind of if we were to optimize for something at the level of individual life, but also how does optimizing for this at the level of the individual life lead to the best society, for insofar as people living that way affects others and long-term, the world as a whole. And how would we then make a civilization that was trying to think about these things? Because you can see that there are a lot of dialectics where there's value on two sides, individualism and collectivism, or the ability to accept things and the ability to push harder and whatever. And there's failure modes on both sides. And so when you were starting to say, okay, individual happiness, and you're like, wait, fuck, sadists can be happy while hurting people. It's not individual happiness, it's love. But wait, some people can self-sacrifice out of love in a way that actually ends up just creating codependency for everybody. So how do we think about all those things together? This kind of came to me as a simple way that I kind of relate to it, is that a meaningful life involves the mode of being, the mode of doing, and the mode of becoming. And it involves a virtuous relationship between those three. And that any of those modes on their own also have failure modes that are not a meaningful life. The mode of being, the way I would describe it, if we're talking about the essence of it, is about taking in and appreciating the beauty of life that is now. It's a mode that is in the moment, and that is largely about being with what is. It's fundamentally grounded in the nature of experience and the meaningfulness of experience. The prima facie meaningfulness of, when I'm having this experience, I'm not actually asking what the meaning of life is. I'm actually full of it. I'm full of experiencing it.
The momentary experience.
Yes.
Moment.
So taking in the beauty of life. Doing is adding to the beauty of life. I'm going to produce some art. I'm going to produce some technology that will make life easier, more beautiful for somebody else. I'm going to do some science that will end up leading to better insights or other people's ability to appreciate the beauty of life more because they understand more about it, or whatever it is. Or protect it, right? I'm going to protect it in some way. But that's adding to or being in service of the beauty of life through our doing. And becoming is getting better at both of those. Being able to deepen our being, which is to be able to take in the beauty of life more profoundly, be more moved by it, touched by it, and increasing our capacity with doing to add to the beauty of life more. And so I hold that a meaningful life has to be all three of those. And where they're not in conflict with each other, ultimately it grounds in being, it grounds in the intrinsic meaningfulness of experience. And then my doing is ultimately something that will be able to increase the possibility of the quality of experience for others. And my becoming is a deepening on those. So it grounds in experience and also the evolutionary possibility of experience.
And the point is to oscillate between these, never getting stuck on any one.
Yeah.
Or I suppose in parallel, well, you can't really, attention is a thing. You can only allocate attention.
I want moments where I am absorbed in the sunset and I'm not thinking about what to do next.
Yeah.
And then the fullness of that can make it to where my doing doesn't come from what's in it for me, because I actually feel overwhelmingly full already. And then it's like, how can I make life better for other people that don't have as much opportunity as I had? How can I add something wonderful? How can I just be in the creative process? And so I think where the doing comes from matters. And if the doing comes from a fullness of being, it's inherently going to be paying attention to externalities. Or it's more oriented to do that than if it comes from some emptiness that is trying to get full in some way, that is willing to cause sacrifices other places, and where a chunk of its attention is internally focused. And so when Buddha said desire is the cause of all suffering, then later the vow of the Bodhisattva, which was to show up for all sentient beings in the universe forever, is a pretty intense thing like desire. I would say there's a kind of desire, if we think of desire as a basis for movement, like a flow or a gradient, there's a kind of desire that comes from something missing inside, seeking fulfillment of that in the world. That ends up being the cause of actions that perpetuate suffering. But there's also not just non-desire. There's a kind of desire that comes from feeling full at the beauty of life and wanting to add to it, that is a flow this direction. And I don't think that is the cause of suffering. I think that is, and the Western traditions, right? The Eastern traditions focused on that and kind of unconditional happiness outside of them, in the moment, outside of time. Western traditions said, no, actually, desire is the source of creativity, and we're here to be made in the image and likeness of the Creator. We're here to be fundamentally creative. But creating from where? And in service of what? Creating from a sense of connection to everything and wholeness in service of the well-being of all of it is very different. Which is back to that compassion-compersion axis.
Being, doing, becoming. It's pretty powerful. Also could potentially be algorithmatized into a robot, just saying.